Hola, ¿qué tal? Hello again. Welcome to Beyond the Mic podcast, our new adventure and what is streaming through Facebook and YouTube. But again, welcome to Beyond the Mic. We have a special guest today and a very dear friend of mine. His name is Steve Rivera. Okay, first of all, welcome to our podcast and thank you for taking the time for being with us. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, thank you very much. A big weekend for Arizona sports with basketball in the Bahamas and Arizona football halfway, not so decent football season.
Well, I thought he would be in the Bahamas, so I was thinking, oh, Steve may not be able to come in because he may be down there, but you're up here. So how's it going? I mean, it's a big weekend. First of all, we've at least I have read Steve Rivera for a long time. I don't want to say your age, but I've known of Steve since I was in college.
This gives away my
look
age.
at
Francisco,
that
this gives away my age.
that tells it all, huh? Well, you've been a writer for a long time. You covered Arizona basketball for a long time. You've written a few books on Arizona. But first of all, let's go back to Steve Rivera when he first arrived in Tucson. You were not born in Tucson, though.
No. I came from Dallas, but I grew up in Santa Fe. My Mexicano and the way I speak is Spanglish from northern New Mexico. So I understand you very well. I just can't speak with you from my end. So there's that. So I've been in Tucson since 1987. I drove in from Dallas, hoping to make a mark or whatever, and then move on to a different. You kind of move markets and you become. I realized Tucson's a pretty nice place, especially when you're covering a pretty good team.
So was the Citizen your first gig when you arrived in Tucson?
My first gig, again, 1987. I just did whatever, general news, general sports back then for Peter Madrid, as you know and I know. And then a year later, I started covering Dick Tomey for 3 years. That was a lot of fun, very good. And then to the basketball program in 1991.
Well, that was a pretty good season. Actually, I don't want to tell my age either, but 87, 88 was my freshman season at the University of Arizona as a student. So I have to tell you this. I would religiously read you. I know you weren't covering basketball full time at that time, but I think Morales was also on the beat at that time.
No. Morales, you must be about 5-ish, 50. Are you younger than that?
Yeah, I'm around that age.
Okay, so yeah, because he's 3 or 4. You didn't compete with me until the mid 90s.
To the midnight. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I remember that reading both of you. But actually, when I was at U of A, we would get the newspaper. We'd read every section at the student union, and it would pass around all the students. And you were actually one of the ones that we read religiously. And so you hung on. When was it your last year at the Citizen? I mean, sadly enough, I remember those times when we would go to a Dunkin' Donuts or Fry's or whatever, and we'd see the paper. We put a quarter in there, get one paper out, leave the rest in for other people. I mean, those times are people nowadays don't know about those times, or buying the newspaper at the corner of or intersection of streets.
Yeah, no, quite in a quarter. That tells you how old it is, right? Because just recently I went to go buy a paper for the first time in a while, and it was like $2, $3 for Christmas last year. I had to go buy a Sunday. It was like $5. I says, "What the hell just happened to me? And where have I been?"
Yeah, it's been a long time. But talking to Steve Rivera, we don't have a lot of time, but we have enough time. Talking about Steve Rivera and with Steve Rivera, you're very synonymous with Arizona basketball, and I mean that in a way that you not only cover them, you also have written some books about Arizona basketball. What has been like for you to be linked with Arizona basketball for a while? And I'll go on with this first question, but it's going to I want to go more in depth in what it takes a journalist to be embedded with the team, and then what it takes not to be a fan. But first of all, what has been like for you to be embedded with Arizona basketball for so long?
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if I am as much as I used to be. Obviously, I covered Loot from 1991 to 2000, when the paper finally closed in 2009, and he was on his way out as well. He had already retired, and Sean Miller was coming in. So, 17, 18 years of that, and maybe three, four books up until that point. The first one being the National Championship game, championship season. Synonymous, I think I am for the with the older people who followed like you, and not that you're older, but the older alum or the boosters, and then the books. But with younger people, I don't think that they recognize who I am with that because younger crowds are more Twitter, TikTok, and all that stuff, and I'm not a big Twitter or TikTok guy. I still cover the team as much as I can. Don't miss games, things like that. But I think if you're old school, you know who I am, you recognize my face, and now that I do radio, you could recognize my voice. It's in fact most people's voice.
What was it like to cover Lou Olson so in depth?
The funny thing about it is, and you know how this is. I'm not sure if you know how it is at your level now. Have your go-to people, but when I first covered Lou, 27 years, a little intimidated. I really didn't want the job because I knew it was difficult. He was difficult with the media, but it turned out to be it wasn't that bad because if you're fair to him, or at least he thinks you're fair to him, he'll give you the time. He'll be cordial with you. And a secret that I had was I had Bobby. I got close to Bobby, his wife, his longtime wife. So she liked me. If she liked me, he liked me.
That was a good secret. Now, going into that, Steve, uh, as a journalist, we have ethics and we cover sports and we try to be as fair as we can, cover both sides and ask the questions. We're talking about how tough Lou also is sometimes, but again, we're human beings. Did you ever become a fan of Lou Olson and the team, or did you always have that separation line, or what was that like? How can you explain that?
Good question. A fan probably. I respected how he did his job because he did it very well. At the time, one of the best college coaches in the country. I kind of was like one of his players as well as a player, but they played hard for him for a reason. Did the hell out of him, right? For me, I respected him because he was available to me to his house or be a phone call to his office. He'd always return things like that. So that was the good thing. A fan, I don't know, but a fan of the program, kind of. I give grief to the people now who are UA grads and under the table they're cheering while they're covering the team. I think I've told you this before, Francisco. I'm not a sports fan anymore. I haven't been for a long time. I want to say maybe 20, 30 years because it's a job. It's a job and you become cynical and kind of jaded. You go to the park or you go to the arena, you're looking for what I'm looking for. I don't care who wins or loses, although it's easier to cover a winning team.
But you know what? I'm glad you brought up the issue of nowadays how it is covered. And I discovered that in Major League Baseball. Obviously, I work for a team. I'm in the payroll. I broadcast their games, and I've grown as a professional with the players. So for me, it's very easy to be a fan of the players as human beings as well as athletes and of the team I work for. But sometimes there are journalists who cover the beat and they write stories, and you can tell, being from old school and still a journalist, that they kind of cheer and for whoever they're covering, and they kind of whoever the team they're playing against, they're even writing. There's a line where they don't cheer against the other team. I don't know if put it that way, but you can tell it's one-sided story. Do you see that a lot today?
I see that, maybe not a lot, but I see it every now and again. You have the teams that are covered by their fan sites. That's their obligation, right? They got to cover the team in a positive type of way. That wasn't the case back in the day. You didn't have those types of sites. You covered straightforward. You went to the game. You saw what you saw. You wrote what you wrote, and you asked the questions, and you filled in your story. Nowadays, you have a lot of those fan sites and guys who they graduated from or wherever, and they wear red and all that stuff. I just don't do that. I've never done that. I've really never felt compelled to cheer for the teams that we didn't learn that. You know, I'm sure you didn't learn that when you went to school at U of A.
No, no, we did not learn that at all. And actually, even when I started in journalism, I would not take pictures with whoever I interviewed, whether it was an athlete or it was elected officials. It was just not. I thought it was just not ethical to take pictures with them, you know. And now every
Sure.
journalist has pictures with whoever they cover, and
Right.
so it changed. But again, technology has changed it too because of those sites. And I mean, sometimes it frustrates me as a former journalist. Now, I'm a broadcaster now, but as a journalist who cover either sports or news, it's like, come on, just tell the news, tell what's going on. Don't
Right.
cheer for. But
Well,
sometimes, and other journalists tell me, it's they write for their audience, they broadcast for their
right.
audience, which you think about it, it's okay, in part it's true.
Yeah, no question. In fact, for my internships that I have for the radio show, UA students, right? So sometimes they let we didn't play well or and I'm thinking you're not a we, you're not playing for them. You're covering the team. And I joke with that, but then I also say I'll give you this break because you're also a student. You're allowed to have fun or enjoy the team or cheer on the team. But when you get out of this world, out of this school world, guess what? You're no longer a we. There's no longer a we.
Exactly.
In fact, I asked
The,
those questions. Jay Gonzalez, who was my partner for, I used to give him grief because he was the fan in the room. I was the journalist in the room because he would cheer them or be upset when they lost. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? No llore. No te llore. It's going to be
but you
okay. It's going to be okay. Because he was a fan. He eventually got out of it because he wanted to enjoy, right? You want to enjoy the team. So how can you enjoy the team if you're covering the team and they're losing?
No, exactly. That's true. Look, Michael Gonzalez says viejos. No, we're not viejos. We're still young. But you know what? And I played both roles with Arizona because I would broadcast their games and I would also cover them. And I would be the play-by-play in Spanish for the Arizona Wildcats. I did it for 20 years, and man, it's a great program. It's a fun program. It has been for a long time,
Right.
and being around it, it's amazing. I mean, you and I uh, went on some trips with covering Arizona and me broadcasting, and even the people from other teams they look at the program with awe. It's like, wow, we're playing Arizona, or our team is
Sure.
playing Arizona. And so and you don't, you're not a player, you're not a coach, but you still feel a lot of pride for especially me, that I would do the play-by-play for the team.
No, no question, because you're tied to the team. I said this in one of my stories, and I think it was when Luke passed, maybe five years ago, when I did kind of an obit on him and my reflections on him passing and his time here. It says people recognize me and say hello to me because of what who I covered. And had this been bad, like bad, would I never would have known who I was. Successful tag along type of thing. To that, I never covered never covered a losing team.
No, you're absolutely right.
Amazing. I was spoiled. I was spoiled because losing.
No, I don't know. And you know what? With the people who, like, we didn't have internet in the mid early '90s until the mid '90s, but it's amazing how every day we would wait for the newspaper, and I would get or buy the morning paper and the afternoon paper, and sometimes the afternoon paper had a little bit more updated stories because of the deadlines. But I would buy it and just to
Right.
answer and follow it. It was like a novela, man. The basketball team and the football team. Arizona Sport. You wanted to see what was going on next, like who was coming in, did they sign? I remember when Reggie Gary signed with the Arizona Wildcats. It's like even the newspaper for the school, the Daily Wildcat, it had great student journalists there, and so I would read all three, and then USA Today, and then Sports Illustrated. So college basketball and college sports really got me into what the journalism is.
I don't know if you watched or watched or read. I'm sure you did. Maybe 15. I was talking about to me after that. He says, Steve, you don't know me, and you and Greg Hansen. And he kind of made me feel old, right? So and he was okay. He says, but Steve, I said, okay. He says, why do you go to an event and have two totally different perspectives on the same event? And I'm thinking, and I'm sure you see it too, right? You go, you have
Yeah,
the American broadcast, the Spanish broadcast. They see different things. It's just how you see things.
e- exactly the perspective, and that's why I would get both papers because I would read two different things from the same event, from the same game, and the knowledge that you guys put in there was amazing. But but it was great. So it was great following you along. It's great following you now uh, through from a little bit far away now in your new ventures and everything that you do. But I have one complaint about you though.
I'm not tall. I'm not good
Eh,
looking. What is it?
No, that you've written many books on Arizona Wildcats, and you never included the Spanish broadcaster.
And we got to do a book. We got to do a libro in español.
We have to. We got to get together and write a book. Yeah, we have to do it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Steve, pretty important week for Arizona. The team, the football team, obviously has fallen a little bit short. It had a great season last year.
Mhm.
So, what does it mean to this week to play the Sun Devils? And now the Sun Devils have a great team. I was listening to a podcast. I think 18, 19 players for ASU are from the transfer portal. Correct me if I'm wrong, but something along those lines. No, a lot of people didn't expect them to be as good as they are. So, what's your thought on game week against Arizona State in football?
No question. It's funny because if you would have said this in August, you'd say impossible that ASU is going to be have a better season than Arizona. In fact, the seasons are reversed, right? Because you thought Arizona was going to be the same team that they were last year, and ASU would be the same team. ASU picked to finish last at the Big 12. Arizona in the top five, which you okay, you'll settle for that. And then things happen, injuries, a lot of different. It's been very difficult here. Um, I said this on the radio yesterday that as a program, football, basketball, and all these things, we're going to be going back to the glory days of the mid '90s. I think you were around at that time, right? When they were winning championships with softball, doing well in football, basketball was doing really well, and the program was doing really well. That's not happening. This year has kind of been a disaster to a degree. And the football team is not the team. They're even talking about firing the coach, which won't happen. And then you have the basketball team, which is 2-2. It's like the end of the world is happening because it never happens. We'll see what happens here in the Bahamas, but I think they'll be all right. I think Tommy Lloyd will get it figured out. But it's only November, so they can relax a little. Football, I don't know. I still think that coaching matters, and I don't think that the team bought into the new coach. You've been around some good ones. You know what a good one is. So we'll see.
No, and then it's important. I mean, if they were to get the win against ASU, it would definitely. I don't want to say turn the season around, but it would definitely be a great victory for the Arizona Wildcats to finish the season.
Right. We talked about this yesterday. I don't know. You're a grad. You're a grad. But if you go 3-8 or whatever, and then you have this last game and you win, that what about the other losses that you just went through? Those are important too. I know it means a lot, but still that the season's okay. I don't think it does.
Well, at least you're not gonna get bullied by the Phoenix people.
Well, true, but don't wear red up in Phoenix and you'll be okay.
I love to wear red in Phoenix. I love it. I love to wear my Arizona gear to go to, to Phoenix. It's pretty
Well,
cool though.
you might not want to
It's
now
nice.
because you don't have the edge now. Right now, you don't have the edge.
I know.
I
So we'll
would
see.
just
And
wear
lastly,
your wear your Houston Astros hats and your jackets.
Yeah, I always wear those too, of course. Hey, Steve, so where do you see this basketball team? A lot of talent going on, still in the top 25, but where do you see Arizona and Tommy Lloyd going from here on to the rest of the season?
It's very perplexing, Francisco. They lose to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, every team that Arizona faces is going to play out of their mind. And then Duke comes here and beats them up pretty badly. And I said, look right. It hadn't been the Arizona team that I'd seen for a long time. They have all the right pieces. And even before this game, maybe 10 days ago or so, I said to a coach, I says, I really liked it. It has all the right pieces, some very athletic people. The backcourt looks good. Okay, but right now it's a very good-looking car with a bad engine. What's the point? It's not going to get you across the street if it's got a bad engine. So they got to get a new engine. They got to rehaul this thing and see what they do with it. I think Tommy will do that, and maybe Caleb will get out of his funk, because Arizona needs him to get out of that funk if they're going to do well this season.
Exactly. The team looks very, very good. Before we go, Steve, we have to say thanks to our sponsors, and that make this possible. We're gonna say hello to Fabrica Pero Moreno. They have cigars. I don't know if you like cigars. You can go to his website. They put them together in Obregón, Sonora, but it's a great company. I also say thank Cesar Morales. If you have a lot or a house you want to sell, Cesar will give you. We'll pay you cash. Call them at 602-422-3182. Also, BK Tacos with our friend Juan El Beni. BK Tacos, you can't go wrong there. So we'll see you there, Steve, at BK Tacos. We also have Cosecha in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They, especially this time, the holidays, they feed a lot of families. It's a nonprofit organization. Please call them and help them out. Also, if you need a car, go with Mauro Gonzalez at Buick GMC. Mauro Gonzalez, and his slogan is in Spanish, donde seguro con carros sales, for sure you'll get out of there with a car, so still be there. And also Wendy Rodriguez, you can call her for all your immigration issues. Also injury lawyer, Wendy Rodriguez, you can call her at 956-601-2000. And Juan Alanis, check out his website at juanalanis.com and making connections, so you can call him at 209-620-7855. Also, we have Charro Chico. Have you been to Charro Chico's lately, Steve? So you got to go there with our good friend.
Yes, in fact, I went to El Charro last week, had a great meal, and guess who my guest host is? Mr. Flores.
Is it Ray?
Ray's my guest host.
Ray's your guest, and also see Charro. So Ray really, he's the one who feeds the Arizona Wildcats. So Ray has done very good things for the community. There's a lot of things going on. We have to really, I have to invite him too. So tell him I will invite him. I have invited him already. So he supports us. He supports this podcast. See Charro, and also Charro Chico, and El Charro. So Ray has done a lot of great things for the community. And Steve, what do you leave us with this podcast? What's going on with you? Where can people find you? And what do you leave us with in regards to Arizona sports, and maybe your next book? Maybe you'll include me a couple lines there.
Yes. No, I don't have a new book slated, although they've been asked a couple of times. We'll see what happens with that. But you can find me on my radio show every weekday, 3 to 5 on Fox Sports 1450. Talks about Arizona sports all the way. And then you can see me at allsportstucson.com. I cover the team there with the write-ups and the features there. So kind of busy, really. We just finished El Tour, so that was crazy. I'm still sleeping from that. It was a great week. So busy like you, Francisco. Down here. I'm going to tell Ray to put more if he's feeding his fire.
I need to get fired up. Please give my best to Ray and tell him he's got to be next on the podcast here, so he can talk about all the great things him and his family does. Remember when we did that boxing thing with Ray? That was a while back ago, huh?
Downtown. Champion here with the had to be
boxing
13 years ago.
And remember,
boxing, right?
Remember our trip to Miami for the NCAA tournament?
Let me tell you something. My best trips ever. Talk about the baseball, and then you took your little. I can't thank you enough.
All right, Steve Rivera with us. Thank you again for being our guest, and hopefully we'll have you again. I know you have to go to your radio show, but thanks a lot. And again, thank you guys for joining, and thanks to all of our sponsors. And please say hello to Ray when you talk to him later on today. And on behalf of Steve Rivera, my name is Francisco Romero, and this was Beyond the Mic podcast. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.